APEC Secretariat says PNG looks ready to host APEC Summit. Statistics reveal over 40,000 people in PNG are blind. And Morobe Show comes to an end.
This is National EMTV News with Marilyn Diaukatam.
Good evening. Thanks for joining me. This is Sunday's News. Dr. Alan Bola, the Executive Director of the APEC Secretariat, says PNG looks ready to host the 2018 Summit of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. Speaking at the APEC Transport Ministers meeting in Port Moresby, he said that to be APEC ready, all infrastructures to cater for an expected 10,000 guests must be ready. He added that hosting begins in December with several hundred meetings at selected venues around the country, leading up to the Leaders Summit in November 2018 in Port Moresby.
The 10th APEC Transport Ministers meeting was successfully held in Port Moresby yesterday, and the Executive Director of the APEC Secretariat explained what is expected to come December.
Important stuff also is getting policy ideas together. There'll be meetings starting very soon. So actually your year starts in December, 2 months away. Senior officials will be meeting here in Port Moresby in early December to start work on all of that. And then next year, while I know you're often focused on the leaders meeting, there'll be several hundred meetings going on before then. So a very big commitment to all of that.
He added that for PNG to be APEC ready, all infrastructures to host the APEC meeting should be ready, but is satisfied PNG is ready to host.
By the time we need it to be, so that means getting ready for some of the Port Moresby official meetings pretty much now, but then by later next year having the big infrastructure requirements necessary for the leaders, because then we could have up to 10,000 people coming into Port Moresby, and that will have several thousand media, and of course they'll be judging how things are going themselves. So we're confident that things will be ready by then for that big leaders meeting.
During the APEC meeting, PNG is expected to have 21 head of economies, including US President Donald Trump, Chinese President Xi Jinping, with their delegates and all CEOs of major global companies. Securities will be high, and Dr. Bollard says it is a key part of preparations for APEC.
The focus that every economy has to put on risks of terrorism, security, and that is being handled, and I don't think they're higher here than in other places. So we're pretty comfortable that that's been looked at. Then in addition, of course, is just what happens on the street, and we know your people are going to be very focused on all of that.
The 10th APEC Leaders Summit will be held in November next year in Port Moresby, with several hundred other meetings taking place in other hosting APEC provinces. Adelaide Kari, National EMTV News.
Port Moresby was recently visited by 2 fighter jets from the Royal Australian Air Force. They performed a flyby as part of security operations leading to the 2018 APEC Summit. The flight was led by Flight Lieutenant James Clark, who flew the FA-18 single carrier. Our reporter Adelaide Kari spoke to him after the air show.
Flying side by side, they flew in with a bag as part of the 10th APEC Transport Ministers meeting as a show of security strength come APEC 2018. The Royal Australian Air Force Commodore Phil Gordon was also on the flight in and gave a brief detail on the FA-18 Hornets.
This is the FA-18 Hornet. It's Australia's main fighter aircraft, and this particular aircraft we've had for about 30 years now. They're due to be replaced in a few years' time by the Joint Strike Fighter, but still an incredibly capable fighter, multi-role, so we can do both air-to-ground, delivering weapons in support of ground troops, or air-to-air, shooting down adversary aircraft if needed.
We also spoke to the lead fighter pilot, who said it was his first time to actually land in PNG.
So I've flown over Papua New Guinea 2 times before, but it's my first time landing here, so it's always good to go to somewhere new. Yeah, so I was the lead of the formation today, so I'm responsible for coordinating with air traffic control and navigating the formation into the airfield, and then because I'm the first one, I pitch in and land first.
28-year-old Flight Lieutenant James Clark explained how he joined the Royal Australian Air Force.
That's what I always wanted to do. I'm very lucky to be able to have a chance to fly this one.
The FA-18 Hornets also did an air show along Ella Beach past the construction of the APEC House. Adelaide Siraks Kari National, MTV News.
A recent survey completed this year on avoidable blindness has revealed that 40,746 people in PNG are blind in both eyes and 67,987 people are blind in one eye. The common cause was untreated cataract and refractive error, while 61% of blindness is experienced by women. This was revealed this morning at the annual blind walk in Port Moresby, led by the Port Moresby Lions Club. This year's annual blind walk is to support the national prevention of blindness to raise awareness on causes of avoidable blindness. The walkathon was along the Jack Pettick Park towards Cods, BSP Waigani, to the Wex Department and back to Jack Pettick Park. While it is an estimated 40-minute walk, this morning it took almost 2 hours as they were challenged to walk blindfolded. This was the message the walk wanted to raise, that eye diseases are just as significant as other diseases. A survey on the rapid assessment of avoidable blindness revealed alarming statistics in the country. The prevalence of blindness was 5.6% in people aged 50 years and over. Diabetes tests conducted in NTD estimated prevalence of diabetes in adults over 50 was 7.8%. 80% of those diabetes never had an eye check, while nearly 49.5% of those newly diagnosed had some form of retinopathy or complication in the eye. The survey showed that 66% common cause of avoidable blindness was untreated cataract and refractive error. It was also revealed that there is little knowledge available out there of treatment for vision impairment, an area that the National Prevention of Blindness feels needs more awareness. According to them, cataract surgical coverage and spectacle coverage is below WHO's recommendation level. Charmaine Warasausa is one of the 300,000 students who will be sitting the grade 10 national examination starting tomorrow. Ms. Warasausa says as the hours count down to her first paper, she is confident of scoring good marks in the exams. Grade 10 students in Papua New Guinea will be sitting their exams from Monday 9th October to Friday 13th of October.
Charmaine comes from Yanguru district in the East Sepik province and has done most of her schooling in Port Moresby. Growing up with her grandparents, she has dreams of becoming an independent woman after completing her studies. She completed her grade 9 at St. Charles Luanga after completing her primary studies at Waigani Primary. Her favorite subjects include mathematics and social science.
The first paper will be mathematics and personal development. On Tuesday, we'll be sitting for social science. And on Wednesday, will be science and computing. On Thursday, business studies. And on Friday, will be English paper.
Tomorrow, she will be amongst the other thousands of grade 10 students in the country to sit their final examination. Charmaine tells me that for the past few weeks, she has been doing her own studies and revision in preparation for a final exam.
I really don't feel that nervous, but I'm sure I can do it and make it through year 11 as my school motto says, I can and I will. And I know for myself, I can and I will.
Like most students, she aims to be successful in the future, but chose not to reveal her future ambition as yet. Right now, her focus is on passing her grade 10 exams and securing a spot for grade 11.
For my examinations, I will do all my best to my ability and work as much as I can, work hard as much as I can, to achieve my goal and continue my year 11 in Port Moresby National High and continue to strive for excellence in the following years.
While Charmaine and other grade 10 students in the country prepare to sit their first 2 papers tomorrow, the students in Nipa, Southern Islands Province, will not be sitting for their final examinations due to continuous fightings in the province, which had affected the 2017 academic year.
We wish all the grade 10s of St. Charles Luanga Secondary School and grade 10s throughout the country all the best.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
More than 200 teachers will undergo tailor-made diploma training at the PNG Education Institute to upgrade their teaching qualifications. The training is for teachers who are teaching at vocational training centers with technical and vocational qualifications but do not hold a recognized teaching qualification. The training will allow them to be fully registered with the Teaching Services Commission. It is a funded program under the European Development Fund as part of the Human Resources Development Program, Phase 2, that operates in 6 provinces. The National Education Department, although faced with funding issues, is managing them to continue the academic year. Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra says the recurrent operational funds is not significant, but will continue to deliver education service to the nation.
The National Education Secretary was responding to questions raised by EMTV on teacher emoluments. Dr. Kombra says teacher emoluments covers 80 to 90% of the overall national education budget.
Teacher emoluments across the country, the budget should be reflecting about, would guess about 80 to 90% of our education budget goes to, of our budget apart from TFF. The overall budget of the education sector itself, I would say 80 to 90% of our budget for each year goes to teacher salary.
Teacher emoluments doesn't cover the normal tuition fee-free funds. Dr. Kombra admits the recurrent operational funds of goods and services are not significant, but they are managing them well to sustain the academic year.
If we bring in TFF, then that percentage might drop a bit, but let's just put TFF aside and just look at the department's budget alone. So our recurrent operational funds, of what they call goods and services funds, are not that significant. But we do as much as we can with what we are given.
What's the latest?
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
You're with National EMTV News. Still ahead, PNG Fashion Show and Morobe Cultural Show. Stay with us. Welcome back. Over 100 guests attended the 2nd annual Papua New Guinea Fashion and Design Week at the Gateway Hotel last night. There were over 10 designers who showed off their work. One of the new designers launching her line of clothing was Relvi Kalip of Rel's Adi Fashion.
Mankind has done all that can be done to the earth and the ocean.
The show started with a message for environmental protection and social justice.
They stood in nothing else but perfect sphere.
It set the pace for the evening for this year's theme, fashion and climate change. There were over 10 designers that showcased their work, from more noted lines like the Lover Girl range, Paiwa, PNG and Kala, and FJK Bilumwe, to lesser known ranges. Relvi Kalip was one of 2 prospective designers to have been featured during the runway show.
I was working as an accountant, and then when I changed my life and then something required me to start sewing to support myself.
Relvi's line displayed at the runway show featured the popular Karkar Island Bilum, Kalibobo Lighthouse and Flying Foxes.
I want to make awareness of what's happening in Madang, the marine life, the plants. So the Madang Bilum, a lot of people know about it, they carry it. I want to incorporate that, make it traditional, contemporary onto a dress or a shirt so people can wear it and have bilums on the clothes.
Relvi was part of a host of training design workshops that the PNG Fashion and Design Week Organizing Committee held earlier this year for up-and-coming designers. One of the workshops had featured Failepu Penny, director and founder of Pacific International Runway and designer of Lepo. Harry Gimbari, National MTV News.
The Morobe Show ended today with calls for more attention to the needs of artists, craftsmen and women. Many who came to the show said things have been difficult, yet the demand for the work is ever present.
Every year, more than 100,000 people come through the Lay showgrounds for the Morobe Agriculture Show. And while the focus has been primarily on agriculture, tradition and culture also play an important part in the whole event. This morning, cultural groups came from all over the country. This is always an opportunity for the older people to teach the young how to make traditional bilas and also what it means for them.
Go down, go down.
Morobe province is a melting pot for people from all over the country. The richness becomes evident during events like this. This show has also brought out the need for a central place to sell artifacts and for Papua New Guinea to develop a system that helps artists and craftsmen to sell their work. Agbron Tui from the Western Highlands makes artifacts. It's something he learned from his grandfather. It is an important part of his Western Highlands identity. Paul Yap is also a collector of war relics. It's something very few people do. He is also a craftsman, and he says a system needs to be set up to assist people like him.
But especially
While Morobe may be a melting pot, the province still has a long way to go in terms of the support it provides for arts and culture. There's also serious concerns that languages in urban areas are fast dying out and the traditions associated with those languages are following suit. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lay.
The Morobe Show provides a chance for local artists and craftsmen to display their art. Every year, people travel as far as the highlands to sell the art at the show. This year was the same. Basua Wape is from Kagua in the Southern Highlands province. He brought with him a colorful display of headdresses, spears and other items. Wape said he heard about the show and decided it would be a perfect opportunity for him to sell these items. Being a first-timer in Lay and at the Morobe Show, he hoped to expand his market beyond Mount Hagen, where he usually sells his crafts. When asked when he was planning on going back home, he said it depended on the sales he made at the show. Stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Welcome back. Turning overseas now, the battle to take the Syrian city of Raqqa back from the Islamic State is entering a final phase. 3 years ago, it became the home of extremists who ruled with immense brutality. Since June, a United States-backed coalition has fought to take back control successfully, forcing IS into a small enclave.
It is the most intense American bombing campaign since Vietnam. Nowhere in Afghanistan or Iraq has ever been subjected to the sustained bombardment being inflicted on Raqqa, the Syrian city IS call their capital. The world's most advanced air force is doing this to help one of the world's most poorly equipped armies, the YPG. With no tanks or heavy weapons of their own, this pro-Western militia must rely on warplanes, on AK-47s, and on a thirst for revenge. Getting to the city centre necessitated a hectic drive through streets of rubble. Our driver Okab said speed was the best defence against rocket-propelled grenades. He handled his Humvee with the skill of a rally driver. Okab lost 2 brothers to Islamic State, 1 shot, 1 beheaded. The commander we meet is nicknamed Earthquake. For 3 weeks, his unit has laid siege to this place, Raqqa Hospital, where IS have made their last stand. Capturing it is difficult because IS have trapped civilians inside, so direct airstrikes are not possible. At this, their most forward position, the YPG are near neighbours with the enemy. We've come for a better view, but visibility is a two-way street, and we are spotted. Earlier, the men, all Arabs, talked about 2 things they share: belonging to the same tribe and losing a loved one to Islamic State. Earthquake was at university studying to be a human rights lawyer when he enlisted to restore human rights to the victims of IS. His demonstration with a meat cleaver was to explain how a friend's fingers were cut off by IS when they caught him smoking. This man is wielding a sword taken from a dead IS fighter. The balaclava is to protect his identity, which not even his comrades know, because often he crosses the front line to pose as an Islamic State fighter and collect intelligence. This is a YPG spying operation inside Raqqa last year. The bulb inside a motorbike headlight has been replaced by a camera. The streets are largely deserted, however, because people want to avoid the men questioning this motorist. They are the religious police. They spread terror inside Raqqa, while others plan to inflict terror abroad. An hour's drive outside the city, these are the latest residents of Raqqa to escape and join many others already at the refugee camp. But at least they are safe. As winter approaches, the biggest battle they will face is with the elements. The battle for Raqqa has been as brutal as was feared. But this was the city that declared war on the world, an affront to mankind it could not be allowed to stand. By becoming the most sinister, scary place on earth, Raqqa invited its own destruction, and soon it will be put out of its misery.
The Lower Hutt community in New Zealand's North Island came together to help a Syrian refugee whose garden was vandalized. More than 1,000 plants were destroyed, but there was a massive response when the call went out.
A heartening display of community in action, all in aid of one man's garden.
Pretty heartbreaking moment, but I'd like to think that this is going to go a long way to healing what happened.
On Tuesday, Khaled Al-Juja came home to find his greenhouse in tatters, almost a year's work ruined. The plants were nearly ready to be sold at his fledgling nursery business. An SOS went out on Facebook, the event coming together in just 4 days.
We've been able to take something that was really sad and really quite challenging for the family and turn it into something really beautiful.
Rain doing nothing to deter hundreds of volunteers from chipping in with cash, clippings and their green thumbs.
It's fantastic, you know, people donating their time and their goods, and that's what community is all about.
Everyone cares, really, that everyone wants to get involved.
I think we just had to help out no matter what, you know. Seeing one of us get hurt like that, just had to help out.
5 years ago, Khaled and his family fled Homs in Syria, moving to Lebanon and then Lower Hutt. Today, he was overwhelmed by his new community.
Thank you for every people for coming today.
It's not yet known who vandalized his plants or why.
I'd like to think that they have seen the outpouring of love in our community, and I'd like them to understand that there is a place for them here too.
$12,500 has also been raised from all over the world, and what Khaled can't take home will go to other urban farms nearby to feed people in need.
In the United States, nearly a week on from the Las Vegas massacre, police have investigated over 1,000 leads, but they are no close to knowing why Stephen Paddock opened fire on thousands of concert goers.
At every aspect from birth to death of this suspect in this case.
Las Vegas Metro Police Department Under Sheriff Kevin McMahill expressed frustration that 5 days later it's still not clear what prompted the massacre.
In the past, terror attacks or mass murder incidents, motive was made very clear in most of those cases by a note that was left, by a social media post, by a telephone call that was made, by investigators mining computer data. Today, in our investigation, we don't have any of that uncovered. I wish we did.
Investigators have run down more than 1,000 leads, and the FBI is putting up billboards in the Las Vegas area asking for more information. One thing that is emerging, the attack could have been worse. Law enforcement sources say Stephen Paddock's car, which was found by a canine unit inside the Mandalay Bay Hotel parking garage, was loaded with at least 1,000 rounds of ammunition in a suitcase and the explosive Tannerite in a duffel bag. Investigators are examining whether the car was part of Paddock's escape plan. Paddock's cache of weapons included variants of AK-47s and AR-15s. Sources say the entire cost of his arsenal was more than $50,000. Errol Southers is a former FBI agent who studies homegrown violent extremism at USC.
These kinds of individuals don't do things randomly. And so this is a deliberate attack, a deliberate target, and an intended outcome, and we need to find out why Las Vegas, why this past weekend, and why that particular concert.
The man responsible for the 2016 Rio Olympic Games has been suspended after he was arrested for persuading the International Olympic Committee into buying votes. It is alleged Carlos Nuzman organized nearly $3 million in bribes to get the International Olympic Committee to choose Rio to host the 2016 Games. Investigators say 16 gold bars with $2.8 million were uncovered locked away in the Swiss bank. The IOC says its decision to provisionally suspend the Brazilian Olympic Committee will not upset Brazilian athletes who are preparing to compete at next year's Winter Games in South Korea. Chukai Sports is next. We continue with the Rugby League World Cup Tour of the Central Province and semi-finals of the Morata Suburban Rugby League competition.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The Osage Trophy Tour continued its last leg of the Central Tour in the Karakahiri district. The Paul Berry Trophy will finish the journey next week Friday as the Tour Port Moresby.
From Sogeri, the cup traveled down to Lower Sogeri and to Laloki. Excited people of Laloki ran towards the trophy as they entered the area. They took photos of the cup and wished the Kumus the best in the World Cup. Laloki was the last sport the trophy visited in the Central Province.
Also, just a Papua New Guinean company is aware that PNG Rugby League is the national sport. Not all Papua New Guineans would be able to come to Port Moresby and watch the 3 games that the Kumals will play at home. Not many of them will be able to have access to a television set to watch any of the games.
Go Kumus!
By bringing the trophy to the villages, to the people, we're connecting them with this international event and giving them that opportunity to be part of an event that they otherwise would not have been.
Rugby Football League and the Rugby League fraternity around the country and Central Province and Southern Confederate. I wish to once again thank Ruth and the All Search team for making it possible for the World Cup Rugby Trophy Tour of Southern Confederate and Central Province in particular. Thank you very much.
Many Papua New Guineans, at least 70–80%, are fanatics of rugby league game, and so it is fitting that the cup, and especially my electorate people, the people of Kairu Kuhiri, where Koyar is, or Sogeri is. So yes, you know, we hope the occasion also inspires a lot of our young stars to come forward. There are a lot of Koyaris now in the other leagues and games that's going on here in Australia. But we hope to encourage the younger ones also to join in and be good sportsmen now.
The Cup will kick off its last leg of the trophy tour on Tuesday, touring the National Capital District.
The Batari Falcons and Eastern End United B-grade teams are set for a grand final showdown next week in the Morata Rugby League competition. Captain of the Falcons, Lexi James, said despite a poor start to the season, his team has worked hard to book a spot in the grand final. The Batari Falcons defeated the Morata Swamp Coast 8-4 in extra time of yesterday's semi-final match at the Conley Tigers Oval.
At halftime, the Falcons were leading by only 4 points. However, they would give up the lead after poor handling errors around the ruck and cheap penalties. With just a minute before full-time, the Swamp Ghost finally broke through the Falcons' brick wall defense. But they would fail to convert, forcing the game into extra time. Just 2 minutes into the first half of Golden Point, Falcons winger Patrick Mote shifted defense into attack when he picked up a loose ball and scored in the corner.
Mi feel almost go grand final. Mi feel problem yeah. Try. First starting position mi lose cam na. Then mangi come back again. Oleh grand mangi come back again. Mi throw ni team ante na. Mi play alright cam na. Mi kami ni semi na mi go grand final.
Captain Lexi James commended his team for playing consistent football all season and says they are now looking forward to the grand final.
Bamba kambiken namu pano policy samra bol ek tumra bol ran bamba no policy good so next thing ba kambiken em bamba policy ogarana bamba try finish la grand final.
Meanwhile, captain of the Eastern End United, Dixon Madikel, says his team's preparations this week will be focused on defense and getting their set plays in order before they meet the Batari Falcons in the grand final next Saturday.
Emusim sambla forward center bla mono clear good lo anem stable position lo na ran isla kain so mipla need lo bambla improve him again golo training na bambla improve him again isla anem bambla so mipla ba toto ko kam lo side lo now Lily all mistake me make him no me so me ba work hard.
Stanley Oved Jr., National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with rugby union and netball. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to rugby. The Springboks fought hard at home to push, tackle and cajole the All Blacks all the way in Cape Town. In the end, New Zealand winning an epic test 25-24.
First half in itself was full of subplots as the box poured in at the tackle. The All Blacks conceding 20 turnovers overall, including several handling errors, missing tackles early under the pump.
You know, they carried well off their set piece and put us under pressure there and got a roll on. So they're a good team.
The big plus for the All Blacks, though, again, the scrum.
All Blacks driving in.
Few points, but a ton of drama nearing the break, with the All Blacks receiving a favourable call.
Ball loose, and could be a try.
After long deliberation, the TMO ruled a try off Ryan Crotty's hip. Even the midfielder sensed a piece of luck. Unlucky, though, Beauden Barrett didn't return, despite passing a head knock test. Nehi Milner-Skudder, another worrying shoulder injury, as the first half carried on 10 minutes past the hooter. Neither team wanting to blink first.
The ball hangs, wins it.
The Springbok wave kept coming early second half, a cheeky try. As the All Blacks emptied their bench, opportunities struck.
Who's got the pace to chase him? I don't reckon anyone will.
My lungs were blowing and my legs were gone. I was just hoping that I'd make it. That was the toughest one I've ever played in, and one that I won't be forgetting.
Breakdown beast hooker Malcolm Marks had an unforgettable performance. It was Ellis Park 2013 all over again, with 6 lead changes. Something special was needed to win.
Breaks a few. Now McKenzie, this is good looking. Counter-attack. McKenzie could go all the way. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get cleaned up actually, so I was lucky I got through a gap.
The fullback was outstanding on both sides of the ball as the All Blacks were forced to make nearly 200 tackles. The most contentious, though, late in the match on Lima Sopoaga, bringing a harsh punishment.
Oh, it's red. Oh dear.
Midfielder Damien Delende, the man marched. Sopoaga extending the buffer to a crucial 8 points as South Africa picked up a late bruising try, summing up a performance that's wound back the clock.
But tonight we know we've won a test match and both teams really played well.
25-24, despite a few hiccups, the young All Blacks especially proving again they have the fortitude to spark at vital times.
Elsewhere, the Wallabies moved past the Springboks to finish second in the Rugby Championship, beating Argentina in Mendoza. At 20-all, the Pumas were sensing the first competition points, but the Wallabies cleared out in the final quarter.
Gives it to Hodge, and Reece Hodge has got a man on the inside, and it is a try to Will Guinea. Gets it out.
The Australians winning in the end 37-20. Both their championship victories have come against Argentina.
To netball, the Silver Ferns have fallen to Australia again, suffering a 60-52 defeat in the second game of the Constellation Cup series in Christchurch. While the Aussies look to be improving, New Zealand seems to be struggling to find answers.
It's going to be a long flight of reflection for the Silver Ferns after a match strewn with the same issues as the last.
Just little silly errors from everybody. Well, who me?
The Ferns starting with pace and flair, showing some new confidence in attack.
Great confidence to just let it through 2 Australian defenders.
Rewards coming from the defence as New Zealand raced out to a 4-goal buffer early in the first quarter. But the lead was short-lived. The Australian Diamonds pouncing on the Ferns' total of 28 turnovers and pulling away.
There's the first miss for a while for Bailey Mears.
In stages, the match had nothing in it. The hands of Maria Tutaia showing brilliance.
She's in the zone.
But the hosts lacked consistency in being able to play for the full 60 minutes.
And time is what they run out of. Australia, simply too good.
The 8-goal romp more than doubling the winning margin from the first Constellation Cup clash.
It just sucks every time we lose. Like I hate it, like with a passion that I don't even know where it comes from, but it's not good.
The Ferns needing to turn that passion into wins, and big ones, if they hope to pull off a miracle victory in the series, something they haven't won since 2012.
And that ends Trukai Sports, where the details up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And now looking at the weather forecast for tonight in the southern region. Port Moresby, Alatau and Popondetta mostly fine, partly cloudy. Kerma mostly fine and Daru fine but windy. Momase Lay mostly fine and partly cloudy, Medang and Wewak becoming cloudy with a chance of shower, and Vanumo cloudy with a few light rain showers. In the New Guinea Islands, cloudy with possible thundery showers for Lorengau, KV and Kokopo and Rabaul, Kimbe becoming cloudy with a chance of few showers, and Buka cloudy with possible thundery showers. And in the Highlands, all centers cloudy periods with a shower or two later in the afternoon.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
That's it for this Sunday, the 8th of October 2017. From the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing and good night.